Well, hey, how's everybody doing? Glad you're here. First things first, I have to do some poses at the beginning for Andrea to get a screenshot for Instagram. So I'll look like I'm really paying attention. Ready? Okay, got that out of the way. All right, couple of things going on. Oh, by the way, I mentioned it last week. Yesterday was my birthday. So I encourage you all to do some super chats for the old Zach man. Yeah, if you want to do a super chat, get your question in, a little donation to the channel, feel free. Little birthday gift from you to me. Have at it. All right. Clark Cost Canada is the main sponsor of the channel. Make sure you become an expert member. Sign up, use the promo code MOTORMOUTH, and find out basically what the dealer pays for a car. It's really the best way to find out more about what a dealer pays, what you can get for it, and all of those sorts of things. Upcoming vehicles. Saturday, so just dropped overnight, was the Lexus IS. This coming Saturday will be, there's going to be one of the Survivor Series cars from Core Cars coming out this week. Not sure which one it is yet. Then the Corolla hatchback, and then we have coming up Audi Q3. We have a special top 10 looking back at 2020, so that'll be coming up during the holidays. The Gladiator, the Kia Sorento, which we actually have for 2 weeks during the holidays, and the CX-40 is coming up at the end of January, the new turbo. All right, we have some pictures to show you. First of all, this is a GLK. I'm just going to open up the email. Picture for the live show. This is from Jason McMaster. He said, best CUV ever, a 2013 GLK 250. Bought it in Penticton, drove it to Hollywood, Arizona, Utah, Kelowna to New Brunswick, and finally Burlington, Ontario, with zero issues. And there you go. He loves his diesel. So that's his diesel. That's one of the shots. The next one, he's got his Falcon all-terrain tires on there. So that is quite cool. All right. Next up, we have Dave Reimer. Dave Reimer sent me a bunch of pictures. I chose 3 of them. His current ride, he's got a GTI. That's a great shot looking at the mountains. He also has an Infiniti EX, and this is the one, his first car he got. Well, that's a beautiful picture, a 325 IS manual transmission. He said it was stolen and written off in East Vancouver, which is a real shame. These are really quite collectible now, these older BMWs. Okay, so we do have some super chat. Let me just close some of the things here. Hang on a sec. Got all these screens open. We do have some super chats going on. It says, thank you for doing the Q&A show. Happy birthday. I like it. I love the super chat. Keep them coming. Don't be shy. Richard's here. He's always supportive. From Richard McFarland, another super chat. Way to go. And yeah, if you want to do it, no pressure. You're more than welcome here, but super chats are always fun. Okay, let's get into the very first questions. The price of the Civic Type R seems to be holding up very well. How long before they come down to the $20,000-$25,000 for a used Type R? I don't think it's going to be happening very quickly. What you have is you have demand outstrips supply, and that always keeps the prices high. With very few cars coming into the country and a major demand for them, yeah, I don't see the prices dropping quickly. Now, keep in mind, there is a new Civic coming. When the new Civic arrives, I don't think they're going to bring in a Type R right away. They'll probably just bring in the regular Civic first of all, and then maybe some other specialty models like the hatchback the following year, and maybe a Sport and those sorts of things. And the Type R, they'll probably keep that introduction cadence to keep the models exciting for a little while. I mean, I might be wrong. They might bring them all out at the same time. I don't think so. So until there is a new replacement for the Type R, I think they're going to remain high. Plus, you also have to remember condition. So there might be a Type R out there that somebody's modified and heavily used. You don't want that. You want one that's in pristine shape. It's being well looked after. That's what you're looking for. This is Barrick again, always asking. He's always buying a new car every week. Looking for a new electric crossover for his wife, the Tesla Model Y or the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which is best? I haven't driven either, so I really can't answer, but thank you for taking part. There is an embargo in place on the Mach-E. I believe it's lifting this week, so there are a handful of journalists in Canada who've driven them, all of them in Eastern Canada. I sent a kind of a cheeky email to the PR person at Ford, and I said, hey, is anybody east of Oakville going to get a chance to drive the Mach-E? She said there's only 2 of them. They were sent from Michigan, and then after the North American Truck of the Year jurors drove it, they had to go back. But there will be new models coming. Okay. Next question. Hi, Zach. Looking at buying an 1819 Q5, 1819 X3, 1819 GLC, or 20 BMW 3 Series X-Drive. Which one do you say is the most reliable option to go for? Reliable? Well, they're all going to be about the same. Q5, the Q5 X3. So you're talking about the previous generation of the X3. GLC has been around for a long time. You know what? There's not really anything wrong with any of them. I think that what you need to do is go out and see what kind of deals you're going to get in the used marketplace. You want to try and buy one that's certified pre-owned. These are all very good choices. So I'm not here to say one's better than the other. You need to drive them and see which one you like the best. The Q3, the X3, the Q5, the X3, and the GLC are all basically the same size. And they're all great. So I'm not sure what I can say other than try them all. Try and get one certified pre-owned. Make sure it's inspected. And if you're really shopping for a utility, that's what you should buy. Don't think that you're going to replace it with a sedan, because you're not going to be happy. If you really want an SUV, buy an SUV. Hey, Zach, thoughts on gas business for the long term with more electric vehicles on the road? Will they sustain 20 to 50 years? Yes. Here's a news flash. The world is going to be using more oil over the next few years, not less, because you have all of these emerging countries, places like India. Look at China with the rapid growth they've had over the last 20 years. Then you're going to have more countries in the world taking their populations out of poverty and trying to move them into middle class. And that all falls on the back of energy. And these emerging companies are not going to have the wherewithal to build new clean energy, which isn't capable of sustaining hundreds of millions of people anyway. So it's going to be done on the back of the oil industry. And also, it improves people's lives immensely. Can you imagine living somewhere where there's no electricity and no refrigeration, and then all of a sudden you get refrigeration? Well, your food doesn't spoil. You don't get as ill. So there's a whole theory about using energy to get people out of poverty, and when they come out of poverty, they have less children, which reduces the impact on the planet because there's less people. So populations that have had energy and populations that have brought their citizens out of poverty, they actually have less children. It's the poor countries where they don't have energy stability that have lots of children because unfortunately they can die. So there's this whole theory around it. So yes, for some well-intentioned upper middle class person in North Toronto or the suburbs of Vancouver buying an electric car, it's more than offset by hundreds of millions of billions of people actually around the world coming out of poverty and needing energy. So I don't think we're going to be running away from the oil industry for a long, long time. People need energy. First time joining live Q&A. Love the content that you publish on YouTube and Instagram. Well, appreciate that. Richard makes car buying fun. Appreciate that. You know, it's interesting. So I don't kind of hold back on what I think about things. And I went through the analytics on YouTube. And the only videos that I ever lose subscribers are these live chats. So I guess some people don't like my opinions. But that's okay. It's all right. You win some, you lose some. And Richard, if you're new and hopefully you like what we're saying here. G-Flow, happy birthday, Zach. Alfa Romeo, Giulio, and Stelvio are great-looking vehicles, but what do you think why they sell so poorly? I live in Vancouver, and I don't see many of these vehicles on the road. I don't think they've done a good job at all with marketing. I was flying to Europe a year or so ago on Lufthansa, and the only magazine that I got that had English in it was a car magazine. So when you fly in business class, they have like racks of magazines and stuff. So I found one that was English, and I was looking at it, and it was a European car magazine where they rated all of these different categories. And Alfa Romeo won in pretty much all of them when it came to handling and performance. And they are wonderful handling cars, great performance. The reliability long term is a question mark, but I don't think they've done a very good job of marketing them. Anybody who's driven one, I think, will really, really like them. They have a lot of power, a lot of, compared to its competitive set, more power, better handling, better steering and brakes, but I just don't think it's marketed very well. Here's a perfect example. You're talking about Vancouver. In Vancouver, in the press fleet where auto journalists like myself get to drive them, there have only been 2 Alfa Romeos in the fleet ever since Alfa came into the market. What was it, 4 or 5 years now? They gave us a Stelvio about 3 years ago, and then nothing. So they're not supporting the brand, in my opinion. I think they could do a better job. There's Raj. Raj, nice to see you, brother. And Raj got a question in the Lexus IS review, I believe. Or maybe it was the Taycan, I can't remember. But he follows along on Instagram and got one of the questions in. Hey, only 2 super chats. If you're just tuning in now, it was my birthday yesterday. I mentioned it last week. I'm hoping for more super chats than that. Which visits to car factories stood out to you the most, and why? Merry Christmas to you and your family. Well, I don't think there's one particular one that stood out to me. I would say probably going to the Porsche factory and Stuffenhausen, which is in Stuttgart. Is pretty damn cool. I mean, you see 911 go by, you see a Boxster, a Cayman, and then on the same line, they're producing, excuse me, Taycan. Taycan originates in the very first building, the Porsche building, the brick building. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Is it Building 1 or Building A? I can't remember. It's the original brick building from Porsche way back, and that's where the Taycan starts, and then it comes in a conveyor belt across into the main assembly, which is where they put all of those sports cars together. So it's pretty cool to visit there, and you can go, and it's a great city to visit in Germany is to go to Stuttgart, because you can go to the Porsche Museum, you can go to the Mercedes-Benz Museum, because both head offices are there, and I think if you buy a ticket for one, it's good for the other, and then I believe they do some Porsche tours. Very, very worthwhile. Sean is saying it's really too bad what Lexus did for the all-new IS with the same V6 engine, basically the second generation IS. Has Lexus given up on the compact sports sedan? I don't know. I said to Andrew, and I didn't mention it in the video, and I kind of got maybe a little bit of a... I'm wondering, this is what I think. I'm wondering if this is a place... Hey, look, it's the all-new Macan from Porsche. This is maybe a placeholder car. I wonder if there's something else at play here. That Lexus and Toyota has something that's coming, but they're just had to do something to refresh this car. And it's a very long facelift. Like, I believe the car came out, don't quote me on this, but I think it was 2013. So the car is already 7 years old. And then they do, what they did was introduce this new model. And it really is suspension modifications and facelift on the outside and mild modifications on the inside. Engines and everything are carried over. It drives better. I'll tell you that right now. The handling of it and the suspension is much better, but not enough in my opinion, which leads me to believe that there's maybe something else at play here. I just can't believe that Lexus would let that be their. Plus, they got rid of the GS. I think there might be something else coming. I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. Lexus IS 350 all-wheel drive. Is that bulge still there in the lower part of the console that hits your right leg? Yes, we had a good... I don't know. You obviously haven't watched the video because we had a good laugh about that. Andrea read that question on Instagram from one of our Instagram followers, and she started having laughing fits because she said that, is the bulge still there? So if you haven't watched the Lexus IS video, it came out last night and watch when you get a second. Queen's Half Corgi. If the top Japanese car makers were to make a car, I'd like Honda to make the engine and transmission, if manual, Toyota the audio, Mazda chassis and interior, Subaru all-wheel drive, Mitsubishi air conditioning, I guess. Yeah. It's quite interesting you mention this because Andrew and I were talking about doing a video, and we might still do one, of what would be our perfect car from the year. Like the exterior design maybe was done by Alfa Romeo. The interior maybe was done by somebody else. The infotainment screen was done by, say, BMW. And the engine. So if you could take all of those pieces and come together with the perfect car, that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's tough because they all do things well. Some excel and some they don't. But you're right. It's always a compromise. And the follow-up is that make sure Toyota makes sure it's built properly, and Nissan catering croissant from Renault. I just don't think that you'll have Carlos going feeding it to you. Thank you very much for that. I'm getting some birthday wishes. Happy birthday, young man. I love when you talk dirty like that. Got a cake. Thank you very much. You just reviewed the IS350. How tall are you and how did you fit in there? I'm 6'3" and worried I might not fit comfortably in there. One thing I'll say is the seats, the front seats, very comfy. I'm 6 feet tall, but I have a long torso and little legs like a haggis. So I would say my torso is probably similar to somebody who's like 6'2". I had no problem. What I suggest is go try it. It's not comfortable in the back for tall people, but yeah, all you can do is go and give it a shot. Stefan says, "Happy birthday. How old are you now?" Come on, I'm not gonna tell you. You can guess, I guess. You guys can guess. What are your thoughts on the GMC Canyon AT4 and Denali, Chevy Colorado, any other small mid-size pickups you like? Starting to do research timeline to purchase, lease October 2021. Thank you. I think the gold standard really in this is the Tacoma, especially if you can get the TRD or the TRD Pro, just basically purely for resale value. The resale value on Tacomas is out of sight. They just hold their value. And so that's what I always fall back on as a baseline. So if you're thinking about getting a midsize truck and you want it to have some off-road capability, a TRD Pro isn't inexpensive in any way, but it certainly is a vehicle that you're going to be able to buy and keep and sell years down the road and get a lot of your money back. Ben, the new Golf is landing in New Zealand in February. Do you think the touch-based cockpit is innovative or a pain in the ass? I find with all of these things that you do become accustomed to it. So we have, we picked it up today, the Audi Q3, and it has a similar sort of touch-sensitive pad for the headlamps like the Golf, and it's built on the same MQB platform. Excuse me. So you can see that sharing between Volkswagen and Audi. The big fail for me with the Golf is no volume knob. I just don't understand why they do that. I think it's just a hard fail. What I can say is I think the longer you live with these things, you become more familiar with it. I could live with the touch sensitive stuff, but the volume knob is really tricky. I really struggle with leasing. I keep my cars 8 to 10 years. Your review of the GLA shows that there are great vehicles available, but consensus is leased German luxury cars. Well, Bruce, the one thing I say about leasing cars is I call it the 3 or 4 year test drive. If you have a car and you've leased it for 3 years or 4 years and it's working perfectly well and you really like it, then you can go back and buy the remaining portion that you owe on the car, and you can have it certified and inspected and extend the warranty. So if that's why I like leasing. Leasing is like a 3 or 4 year test drive. And if it's been a piece of crap and it's always in the shop and you didn't like it, then just give the keys back and move on. So that's one reason why I like leasing. Is the Yaris Cross in Canada yet? No, we're not getting the Yaris at all. I think it's being discontinued. Well, thank you very much, Alan. Appreciate that. Here's Peter saying, loved your review of the old 930, one of my favorites since high school, had the poster and all. Are you going to do a Countach review to complete the poster roll out there? Happy birthday, all the best, bro. Yeah, well, Countach, I know the one I have over there, I have a Lamborghini model, but it's not a Countach, it's a Diablo from 1990. I'll show you it anyway. Hang on a sec. I was cleaning up underneath the basement stairs, and I found that. Look at that, from 1990. So that's 30 years old now, right? A little bit over designed for me, but yeah, if I could get my hands on a Countach, why wouldn't I? Go for it. I'd like to also get a Lotus. That was the car I had on my wall, was the Lotus Esprit. I always thought of Seikos as Toyotas, Citizens as Honda, Rolex as Rolls-Royce. What watches would you compare Porsches, Audis, or BMWs? Well, the interesting thing is when you go to these events for car manufacturers, do you know the brand that the German executives absolutely love? And when you see, you go to the big booths and displays, and you see engineers and the people who work at the car companies, the German car executives love the German watch company IWC. IWC is incredibly popular, and the Porsche designed watch, the titanium watch, how do you I'm trying to remember how you say the name of it. The Ingen, I can't remember. Anyway, it's a titanium watch made by IWC. So yeah, I would say IWC and German cars seem to me synonymous. You're lucky to be able to test drive cars in Vancouver. Our Montreal roads suck. I would agree with that. And one must take that into account while hunting for a new vehicle. SUVs are a safe bet. I would suggest any car company, if they want to test suspension of their cars, spend a couple of weeks in Belle Provence. The roads can be shockingly bad. They're bad. I'm trying to remember where else I was where the roads were not good. I think it was New Brunswick didn't have particularly good roads. Yeah, but Quebec, they just get eaten up with the salt and the potholes. It's something else. I think we got another super chat here. Oh, yeah. Florin is here. Happy birthday. Appreciate it. Appreciate that. All right, I got to go back to where I was. Scott Goldie is here. Oh, happy birthday, Zach. You do a lot of reviews on vehicles. Don't you ever run out of gas? Well, yeah, I there was a few weeks ago, it was about a month ago, I kind of hit the wall on working a lot. I mean, and we have had a lot of extra cars thrown at us because of COVID. They do these virtual car releases. So I get the information, I sit through a Zoom call or something, and then I get all of the information under embargo, and then I get images and all this stuff, and then we get the car for like 1 day. And then you have to run around like a mad person, like the Lexus. Here's a perfect example. We get the car for really a day, and we've got to do all of our shooting and then all of our hosting and all of our what we call in-car, Andrea and I talking. And then I got to run home and I got to edit it all and turn around and get it out. So it's been a lot of work. I got to say that the sustained amount of work that I've done since COVID hit, because if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, I used to travel it pretty much every week. I would be in California 1 week, I'd be in Europe, I'd go to Japan, I'd go and I would test drive cars all around the world. Now that was time consuming, but it wasn't sustained like this. And then bringing Andrea on board to do all the videos. It's been a lot of work for both of us, and Andrea's been working incredibly hard. She's the research department. She researches things like you have no idea. So when you watch the videos, she's looked up every trim, all the fuel economy, all the pricing, all that kind of stuff. So there you go. So I would say that it's been a lot of work, and yeah, you get kind of tired about it. But you know what? Andrew and I were joking today. What car did we have? Oh, the Audi Q3, and we were doing her Instagram video, and she was kind of getting fed up with it. And I said, this isn't hard work. We're talking about cars. We get to drive fun cars. It's not so bad. You mean west of Oakville? Yeah, that's what I meant. West of Oakville. Did I say east of Oakville? Yeah, west of Oakville. Happy birthday, Zach. The new Land Rover Defender looks great. I like the retro styling coupe. Have you driven it yet? Well, it's quite interesting. I had a bit of a back and forth with the PR manager from Land Rover today, saying like, what gives with this frickin' car, and why can't we get our hands on it? So I got an email today. The vehicle is booked. Guess when I get it? Not January, not February, March. It's like, why even bother? I might even just go to the dealer and get one instead. Sean is saying the Toyota GR Yaris seems like a great little car, 3-cylinder turbo, all-wheel drive. Too bad Toyota Canada won't bring it in, but suspect poor sales is main reason. Oh, and it comes with manual 6-speed. Yeah, this is basically the WRC car. There is rumors and chat about the doing a GR version of the Corolla hatchback. Now that might be more fun and more palatable. I just think it's the size of the car is not really a seller for North America. Oh, Hogtown Biker, I got another super chat. Thank you. All these birthday super chats. Nice one. Happy Motormouth Day. Any insight recommendations on third-party extended warranties? Looking at Santa Fe and dealer informed me they have landed. Oh, that's good to hear. I have to admit, Hogtown Biker, I appreciate the super chat. I don't really follow a lot of the third-party aftermarket warranties. If you're buying a new Santa Fe, there's no rush to do anything because the car's under warranty, as you know, for 3 years. And I don't believe in buying warranties when the car is brand new. People say to me, oh, I bought like a 10-year warranty when I bought the car and I paid all this money for it. It's like, well, you have 3 years as the car's covered anyway, and then you can get it sort of certified and extend that warranty again with the manufacturer. So I always question that. I don't really know much about the different companies, but I apologize. And thank you for the super chat. Another super chat from Peter. Appreciate that, Peter. Thank you so much. All right, I got to go back where I was. Ba-dum-bum. Sorry, guys. Got to figure out where I was. PH says, hey, Zach, which car do you think was great when it came out and your colleagues, journalists, thought it wasn't, and vice versa? Anyone thought it was good, but you thought it wasn't? Well, I can clearly remember the one that jumps out in my mind was when I first started reviewing cars. In 1992, I went to the Automobile Journalists Association Car of the Year evaluation. It was out at Shannonville Racetrack in Shannonville, Ontario. And when I got there, all the journalists were going on about the Chrysler Intrepid or the Chrysler 300, or was it, who made the Intrepid? Anyway, the LH platform, which was used for Intrepid and Concorde, I believe it was, and the Chrysler 300, and all of these vehicles. And I was like, that is what you're all hyped about? And then I voted. My car of the year that year in 1992 was the Nissan Altima. What a great car that was. The first Altima was fantastic. Manual transmission, loads of fun to drive. So I voted on the Altima, and they all voted on the LH cars from Chrysler. Which one is still around today? The Altima. There you go. That's one I can clearly remember. Another one that pops to mind is the Honda S2000. You know, the little sports car that kind of looks like a Miata? Everybody goes crazy for this car. I remember driving it when it was brand new. I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I don't like the power delivery of the engine. I just thought it was a revvy. It wasn't really that satisfying. Another one is the BRZ and the Toyota 86. I don't like the engine in that car. It's okay, but I wouldn't spend my money on it. Evan Katz saying, happy birthday to Canada's best. Well, I appreciate that, Evan. That's very nice of you to say. Sports cars in Montreal are for show. If you plan on driving a sports car in Quebec, you need to get familiar with the secondary highways like 329 to Morin Heights from La Chute. Plan ahead. Yeah, I mean, Alan, you would know. I mean, I've gone on some great roads in Quebec. By the way, I would say, oh man, we're so blessed in Canada with some beautiful parts of the world. I would say that Quebec has got to be one of the most beautiful provinces, and especially in the winter. I mean, it's just a beautiful place to visit in the winter. Broker by Josh saying, wishing me a happy birthday. Appreciate that. Do you think a demo C43 AMG is a good lateral move from my Q50? Well, Josh, we need to know the mileage, the year, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a hell of a car. I would suggest that, getting back to Alan's point about the rough roads in Montreal, the C43 is quite firmly sprung, and I didn't love it. I mean, I really wanted to love it, and I live in Vancouver where the roads are better than Montreal. The suspension is, in my opinion, a bit crashy over bumps. So go into it with your eyes wide open. I would suggest you go and try it and find some bumpy terrain in Montreal. You don't have to go far. And you might come to the same conclusion. I prefer the 300. It's not going to have the power, like you said, of your Q50. You kind of want that V6 power. But yeah, that's the only thing I would say, is the suspension is quite rough. So try it on your roads. Alan says the C45 is a better choice. Well, there you go. Jason McMaster, whose picture was off the top here, off topic, you always have cool, unique looking shoes in your videos. Can you name some of the brands? Well, appreciate that. You know what's interesting? I'll be right back, because it was my birthday yesterday. Guess what I asked for? Wait for it. It's coming. So when I was in Tokyo a few years ago, I think about 4 years ago, I was, is it called the Giza, the really high-end shopping area of Tokyo? And I was walking down this back laneway, and I spotted this really cool shoe store, and it's called Spingle Move, Japanese sneakers. And we were in a rush to get back to the hotel to catch our flight to get home. So I didn't want to get in there and start trying shoes on. I didn't want to be too late. I didn't want to be rushed. But I took a picture of the store, and then it took me 2 other trips to actually get back with time on my hands to go try these shoes. So I went and bought these shoes. They're called Spingle Move. That's the one brown pair. They have these really cool sole to them. And I have this pair and a black pair, which you might have seen in the Lexus video. And so Andrea says to me, what do you want for your birthday? And I got everything. Like I don't want for anything. So what I said is I want a pair of Spingle Move shoes. So these arrived, and they haven't even been worn yet. These are my new Spingle Move shoes. Now, this is a pain in the ass to get them from Japan, because if you've ever done online shopping in Japan, first of all, it's all in Japanese. You got to do a translate, and you can't ship from Japan outside of the country. So you have to use a third-party broker basically to do the deal. So these had to go through a broker, and then they dinged me for fees. I don't know. I don't even know what the price is of these shoes, but it's going to be a lot. They're not cheap shoes, put it that way, but I love them. I have never owned a pair of shoes in my life that get as many comments as those. So there you go. Spingle Move, they're called. And they don't have sizes. Like you say, I'm a North American size 10 or a European 43. Do you know what these are? These are called LL, large. Go crazy. So that's one of the issues. You're going to spend all that money, get the shoes, and they don't fit. The good thing for me is LL fits. Okay. Dark Knight. Thinking of selling Jeep Cherokee 2019 due to noise, acceleration issues, and buying a RAV4 hybrid. Any thoughts? Hell, I mean, RAV4 hybrid is a great product. It's going to run forever. All you have to do is buy it, maintain it, put some gas in it, and off you go. What are your thoughts on the 2021 Mazda CX-3? I won't be shocked if eventually they drop that product. It's, in my opinion, it's way too small. It's a subcompact car platform. It's based on the Mazda 2 platform. I don't mind the car, but it's a really unique kind of niche market. You know who they thought it was going to be targeted at? Were like the young millennials, the hipsters who want to drive a small little crossover vehicle. You know who ended up buying it? Retirees. No kids. Maybe a grandkid once in a while. It's too small. That's why they brought out the CX-30. And I think the CX-30 is a better product. Hey, Zach, I love people's opinions, LOL. Also, the Acura MDX is one sexy third-row SUV. If you go and watch my GV80 review, I mentioned the MDX more than a couple of times. And people called me out, though, well, what's this about the MDX? It basically comes down to this. I don't believe that the Genesis GV80 is going to pull big sales away from the German brands. People who buy German cars want a German badge on the front. That's what they want. If you are going with the intention of getting a Mercedes, a BMW, an Audi, or maybe even a Volvo, that's what you want to drive. And I don't think there's going to be a certain percentage. Don't get me wrong. There will be some people that will go over to Genesis. I truly believe that Genesis' major competition are other Asian brands. I believe that they are going to be cross-shopped heavily with the Acura MDX and heavily with the new Infiniti QX60 when it comes out. And the concept looks fantastic. So that's what they're up against. And when you put them up against the new MDX, which starts at $56,000 and fully loaded is under $70,000, that, my friends, is a compelling package. So we'll have to wait and see. I think it's going to sell like crazy. Josh is saying C43 is a great car. I just returned mine on lease. Oh, this is Sean replying to Josh. You have to get the AMG Performance exhaust, though. Interior does creak. Well, there you go. Let's see if we have... I think Peter gave another super chat here. Let me see. Did he do super? I did another super chat. Well, I'm okay with that. So appreciate it. Let's figure out where we were again. Well, here's a question. I just scanned by it. New MDX looks good. Do you think it's enough to compete with the GV80? Yes, because it's the price. That I mentioned it starts at $56,000 and it goes up to, I think, $67,000. That's a lot. And then you get in, the Type S, which is going to have 355 horsepower, a capable suspension and all that kind of stuff. It's probably going to be a good $10,000 less than, say, a GV80. We were supposed to get the GV80 through the holidays. I just got an email before we went here live that the vehicle's delayed, so I don't think I'm going to get it through the holidays now, but there you go. I'll get my hands on it again. Hey, Zach, who does the voiceovers for your videos, such as For Your Consideration? Is it the same voice as in Driving TV? Yeah, For Your Consideration is Jim Conrad. Jim Conrad is a good friend of both myself and Andrea. When we were dating, she went and worked at a radio station called CKNW and Rock 101 here in Vancouver. And Jim Conrad was the voice of the radio station. He's just a legendary voiceover guy. And he did Driving TV, which isn't on right now, by the way. He does lots of commercials, lots of radio IDs. I believe is he the voice of Q107 in Toronto? I'm not sure. And he's the voice of, check this out. Jim Conrad is the voice of Toyota National Television in the United States. You know what that adds up to? Cha-ching, money. So Jim Conrad's a very highly successful guy, and I've known him for almost 30 years. And so when I sent him a message on Facebook, he goes, "No problem, Zackamundo." Just a cool guy. And then what's the other one? Questions, Coffee, and Cars. That voice is David Kay. David Kay is... I used to live in David Kay's basement in London, Ontario. We both lived in London, Ontario. His wife Maria and Dave lived upstairs. I rented his basement apartment, and then he moved here to Vancouver, actually. And then eventually, now he lives in California. David Kay is at the very top of the voiceover industry. So he does movie trailers. He does Megatron, and for Transformers. He does a lot of cartoons. He does movie trailers. He does station IDs. He does the Brick. If you ever hear the Brick commercials, that's David Kay. Anyway, it's kind of cool. That it's kind of cool that we have these friends, right? And we still got a few more to go to. If we need to get more features voiced, we've got lots of friends. Here's Alan again saying, "Thank you again for replying regarding my question. Which used Porsche to purchase? You recommend a 16 Boxster S or Spider. As soon all of this is over, I hope to sell my G37 XS Coupe." You know what? Yeah, great cars, because they're the sort of last of the 6 cylinders. And they brought up the new GTS, but that's a specialty model. Dr. JBN. "Hey, Zach, any word on the next 4Runner yet? Is it still worth buying a 2021 TRD Pro?" The answer is nobody knows when there's a new one coming. There will be a new one coming. I would suggest that, yes, it is still worth buying one. Goes back to my point I made moments ago about the Tacoma. There's no downside to buying a 4Runner, other than they love gasoline. But they also have incredible resale value. Incredible resale value. So you could buy or lease one for a year or two until we figure out what the next 4Runner is. And when you go to sell it, there's always a lineup of people who want them. My neighbor across the street, he's got one, I think it's 20-something years old. Every single time he fills up for gas, someone asks him, "Are you want to sell your 4Runner?" There's just a crazy community for these things. So I would suggest maybe lease it for 2 years or 3 years. And then if a new one comes in, you could flip into the new one, or buy it out and sell it, which is probably the best thing to do. But yeah, the only thing it likes is gasoline, but it also has great resale value. You're going to get all that money back if you look after it. "Hey, Zach, is the 2021 Sienna, it only comes with hybrid and it's a transmission and a CVT? Correct on both. Only sold as a hybrid, and yes, it comes with a CVT. Happy holidays. Hope my question, could you make this cut this time? Sorry. With the Sonata N-Line, K5 GT, and Genesis G70, still value pack considering the drivetrain. Also, any info on the Elantra N? I'm not exactly sure, SY, what you're asking. I would say, I think basically you're asking, do they offer value? Yeah, I think the value is really quite strong with the K5 and the Sonata K5 N-Line. The engine is fantastic. So the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, what is it, 290 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque. That's off the top of my head, but it goes like stink. It's a great engine. So give it a shot. West Coast is saying smash the like button. That would be good. We have 240 people on board and 85 thumbs up. If you guys could hit that, that'd be great. Wonder if BMW B58 engine would go in the IS before the IS was released. There were rumors about an ISF. So I think what you're referring to is the engine that they use for the Supra, using that. But I think that there's probably another line at play here, which is Mazda, with the Mazda 6 developing an inline 6-cylinder engine, which will probably be shared because Toyota, a major investor in Mazda. So I think there might be something at play with a common platform with Mazda for the Mazda 6, and also a Lexus IS with a rear-wheel drive platform, an inline 6-cylinder, and that engine then being used for an updated Supra. Does that make sense? So I think that's what's at play. I don't think this is, I really believe that this 2021 Lexus IS is a placeholder car. If it isn't, then they've lost the plot at Lexus, because a lot of their products are really quite old. Other than this Lexus IS, the newest car is the ES, and that's the one that sells the least. The RX is old, the NX is old. They need to revamp their lineup. But there you go. What was the most disappointing car, weakest effort you drove in the last 12 months? Mirage or Nissan Micra? I didn't. You know what? I'm going to be an outlier on this one. I didn't mind the Mirage. The Mirage is what I call cheap and cheerful transportation. It's not expensive to buy. It sure isn't expensive to run. You know, if you just need A to B transportation, why not? It's got a 10-year warranty or something crazy. And if somebody is, so the Mirage isn't a new car like to get you excited. The Mirage is a used car alternative. So somebody's got $12,000, $15,000 they want to spend on a car, and then they say, you know what? Why don't I get a new car with a full warranty and all that stuff? And you know what? For some people who don't want any surprises, not a bad way to go. I'd have to go through a list of all of the cars that I drove this year and think about which one disappointed me. I'll tell you which one disappointed me in the last that comes to mind was the S-Class convertible, the S-Class Cabriolet. I thought, my God, that is just one of the most beautiful cars I've ever seen. I remember when it was unveiled. I believe it was at the Frankfurt show, and I saw it, and I was like, holy crap, look at that car. That is just sex on wheels. And then I drove it, and I was like, oh, my God, what a bore. I didn't like that car. But that's just me. Maybe I'm not the intended recipient for it. Maybe it's someone even older than me, even though I had a birthday. Hey, we got another super chat here. Innominate. I hope I said that right. Hi, Zach. I've watched your reviews for many years driving TV and then YouTube. Will you be able to review current gen Audi S7? Cheers. You know what's interesting? I was at the Audi dealership here in Vancouver, Audi downtown Vancouver, and today I picked up the Q3, and so that video will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. And sitting in the showroom was this beautiful white S7 with the black trim, the night optics packet or whatever it's called, with the black grille, the black trim, and the beautiful wheels. And I was like, holy crap, that is a good looking car. I could ask them if I could get a chance to drive one. Probably, you know, there's not that many of them floating around for them to plate one and to let me drive it. I could ask. All I can do is ask. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Find out where I was. Oh, this is an old joke. What's the most popular car in Vancouver? A courtesy car from the auto repair center. That was the joke about, you know, we have a lot of new Canadians that live here in Vancouver, and you know, I would suspect even in that community they would admit that a lot of them arrived without very good driving skills. So the joke was the most popular car is Mercedes, BMW, and then the auto repair courtesy car. I'm just passing on the joke. I didn't write the joke. Just watched the Lexus IS video before jumping in here. Wonder how TLX versus G70 now. G70 is going to be new next year. It's going to be a new G70. I'm not sure if you're following along, but Genesis is going to revamp that car next year. I don't think there's going to be a lot of wholesale changes. Different engines, I believe. But yeah, new exterior design. Now, Alan, I'm going to skip by your questions here because you've had a lot of them already today. Sai is saying, hey, Zach, who does? Oh, we did that one already, the voiceovers. Darian, do you watch other car review channels, Motor Trend, Straight Pipes, Roadshow, etc.? I do not watch other car reviews. I do not read other people's car reviews, and I really never have. I was a voracious consumer of car reviews when I was a kid, and then a teenager, and I got all the Buff magazines, Road and Track, Car and Driver. I always preferred Road and Track as a kid. So I read lots of that stuff. But I don't like to be influenced by other people's opinion. I like to just drive the car and form my own opinion. I would often, if I saw a magazine, I would read like the last paragraph or two after after I'd driven the car and done my review of the car to see if they jived with what I thought. And often that was the case. So no, I'm not a big consumer. If you're a regular of this live show, I watch a lot of van conversion videos on YouTube. That's kind of like my therapy, helps me have a nap or whatever. So I'll watch some guy take a Sprinter van and turn it into a van life video. I watch a lot of watch videos. The Timeless Watch channel is one I watch. So yeah, I'm into that. But yeah, for me, watching car videos is like homework, right? Don't want to bring the office home all the time. MG has released pricing for the new EV SUV 4399 driveway, which includes 5-year warranty and 8 for the battery. Thanks, Hamad. Happy birthday from down under. We do not get that. That is, I remember when I was in China, so MG was bought by a Chinese brand, and they have incredible sales of these in China. I'm trying to remember the front, the logo has like a lion on it. Maybe you could write back, Ahmad. I don't know the brand. I remember going to the auto show, seeing their display, seeing the old MGs that they had there. So maybe you could write back. If you had to choose between the new TLX and the Lexus IS, what would you pick? If I just had to pick one just basically on a car that was a no-brainer, the no-brainer is the Lexus IS. It's always going to start. It's always going to run. It's always going to deliver the mail. The front seats are incredibly comfortable, but it's a bit dull. It doesn't do anything for me. The TLX is a much better looking car in my opinion. I like some more of the tech on the inside. I think that the interior looks much, much better. I think the trackpad is better in the Lexus than it is in the TLX. So yeah, it really comes down to whether you like chocolate or vanilla. It's kind of the way it's going with these two. But if it was just purely buy it and forget about it, the Lexus is the obvious choice. But if you want something a little bit more interesting, the TLX. And especially if we can get our hands on the Type S. There's Florin there. Florin, I believe you sent in some pictures a few weeks ago. The Kia Sorento costs €52,000. Wow. Equivalent to $85,000 Canadian. I can't wait for it to be available here in Canada. Oh, I guess Florin lives in Canada. Yeah. So the Sorento I get in a week or two, and we have it for 2 weeks. What year were you born in? I think it was the year of the snake. I would disagree with this. Josh, it seems to me that the worst car of the year is the Ford Escape SUV. I would totally disagree with that. I think Ford did an excellent job with the Ford Escape. You might not like the styling of it, but boy, does it drive way better than ever before. It's a really well thought out product. They did a lot right. There's a few things I would like to change, but I would totally disagree with you. IWC is a Swiss company. I believe it originally was a German company. So IWC is like crazy popular with German car executives, but I believe originally it started in Germany. Now, I could be wrong. Tony Tan says, Zach, finally no thumbs down yet today. Well, that was obviously typed a while ago because I got one now. There's always one. That's okay. That's all right. I'm okay with that. Are you excited to drive the Ford Mach-E? Is it available to the press yet? It is available to just the jurors of the North American Truck of the Year. As I mentioned, if you just joined late, they had 2 of them shipped up, a white one and a red one, into Toronto and Montreal to let North American Truck of the Year jurors drive it. Then they get shipped back to Michigan. There's going to be some new models coming, distributed across the country. I spoke through email to the PR rep from Ford of Canada, and they said, yeah, as soon as it's available, I'll get my hands on it. John is saying, just got home from work. Good evening. Well, good for you. I'm glad you're here. I appreciate that. 2015-16 Porsche Cayman Boxster are an extreme limited supply, so very high demand equals high resale, 60,000 plus. I was wanting a Cayman GTS, but wasn't willing to pay 80,000 for it. Yeah, this is the problem. There's they went to the 4-cylinder turbos in 17, so those 13 to 16 cars are, we're not alone in this as enthusiasts wanting to buy those ones. So very limited supply. I think the good news is this new Boxster GTS and Cayman GTS with the 4-liter flat six, the naturally aspirated engine, is going to be coming on strong. There's going to be a lot of them bought in the next year or two. And the good news is that as those cars age and become available for sale in 3 or 4 years, the prices of those original, of those the last of the last flat sixes will eventually come down in price. The biggest problem we have in the Canadian market is that we don't have any supply coming in from the US because the Canadian dollar is just terrible. John is saying, thank you, have a dream job and happy birthday. Appreciate that. You know what, I have to remind myself when I get tired of talking about cars and shooting cars and editing cars and cars. I have to remind myself. I mean, there's people out there that really work for a living. This doesn't work. Ed is saying, likes, peeps, get the likes out there. Yeah, we could do better. We're at 265 right now. With 130 likes, we could get that up. It would be good. Kia allows extended warranty to carry over to your next vehicle purchase as long as you still have the initial car. I didn't know that. That's a good idea. So say you buy a 10-year warranty and you trade the car in after 5 years. That rolls on, I guess, what you're saying, to the next car. That's news to me. I think that's a great idea. I wish they'd do that with your cell phone data. If you don't use your data, it rolls over to the next month. Of course, not the case, especially here in Canada. Sean is here. He said, I had a first-gen 93 Nissan Altima, my first new car. Great little car. I had it until 1999. I agree. I thought it was a great car. What are your thoughts on the differences between the 911 base, 911 Carrera S, 4S, GTS, etc.? What's the sweet spot? I think anything with an S in it is the way to go. I think the base 911, now that they're all turbocharged, is actually really good. The one of the previous gen that I thought was excellent was the T, the lightweight one. Hell of a nice car to drive, especially with the manual. That's really good. I think now, because they're all turbocharged, even the base cars are pretty good. S is kind of sexier and you get a little more power and so on. The GTS is fantastic. I think with the last GTS was 450 horsepower. I mean, that's more than anybody really needs. They're all fantastic. I become a real hardcore Boxster fan. I really believe that the 911s are getting big, and I find whenever I drive a Boxster, I enjoy it the most. That's what I've come to realize. But I get it. I totally get it. If you've never owned a Porsche sports car, you're always going to want to have owned a 911. Like, that just goes without saying. If I had never owned 2 911s, that's all I would be thinking about too. But now that I've owned 2 and I kind of got it out of my system, now I'm more pragmatic. Now I'm more realistic. I think the Boxster S is a hell of a car, and a GTS is even better. But yeah, the new 911s with the turbo engines are all very good. Considering a 19 Mazda CX-5 diesel at a local dealer may be swingable for 35 to 40 Canadian. Do you think it would be reliable and worth it at that price? I love the drive, but I don't know. I know it's a tad slow. Well, here's the thing about that. It was a $46,000 vehicle, which is why you need to go to Car Cost Canada and find out. There's probably some pretty steep discounts on new old stock that are sitting there. I would be more down to like the low 30s on that, like between, if you could get it from 30 to 35. I mean, these things just didn't sell. So, and it's old stock. Now that car, if it's new, it's been sitting at the dealer for 2 years. So you better get one hell of a deal on it. If you're doing a lot of long distance driving, it would be worth your consideration. If not, just get the regular gas version because they're already quite fuel efficient. Does the Lexus IS compete with the Acura ILX, or is the ILX too small? Well, the ILX is a front driver, so that's the big difference, okay? So the ILX is a great little car. I drove one a year or so ago, and I hadn't driven one in a long time, but man, what a great engine, great platform, dual clutch transmission, but it's a front driver, right? So you're comparing a rear bias all-wheel drive car with a front driver, not really the same, different size as well, so I would say it's more TLX. Try first. What are your thoughts on the new Acura MDX 2020? I think it's going to be a runaway smash. A lot of you might not be aware of this, but what is the best-selling premium midsize SUV? It is the Acura MDX. 20 years ago, Acura brought out the MDX. It was the first crossover in that class to come with a standard third row of seats. And that has been a major selling feature of that vehicle for almost 21 years now. And there's a baked-in buyer group for that product. It's going to sell incredibly well. I think they've made it bigger. They've made it better looking. They've made it sleeker, and apparently handles better. I'll have to wait to get our hands on it. But yeah, it's going to sell like crazy. Peter's there saying, Lotus, love them as well. Cheap entry into supercars, although maintenance nowadays might be deadly. Lots for sale and bring a trailer. Maybe go that way soon. I wouldn't touch one as a used car, but when I was a kid, I had a Lotus on my wall. That's for sure. I'm going to just skip down here, make sure I haven't missed any super chats, because we're up against the clock now. It's after 6 here on the West Coast. We're having chicken for dinner. I don't know what kind of chicken. Well, it was a chicken. At some point, it was a chicken. But Andrea's made something with that chicken tonight. I don't know what it is. So I had last night for my birthday dinner, I had spaghetti and meatballs. Andrea's Italian side of the family, they make a killer meatball. That's my favorite birthday dish, is spaghetti and meatballs. Spaghetti meatball. That's my favorite. So thanks to everybody for the super chats. Thank you for the kind wishes for my birthday, which was yesterday. I will be back next Monday. Cars that are coming up. Corolla Hatch is coming up, the next review to drop. We have the Audi Q3 coming. We're going to do our top 10 list of the year. The Gladiator, the Sorrento, the CX-40. And don't forget to sign up to Car Cost Canada. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH. Become an expert member. And I will see you all in the next one. Have a great night, everybody. Take it easy.